Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to review a set of watercolor paints that I have been requested to do by several people for quite a while. These are the Shinhan professional watercolors, and I think the thing that has made so many people intrigued with these is that they're very inexpensive for a professional watercolor. So I've actually had these in my cart on Amazon for a couple of years. They fluctuate between usually $25 and $30 for the set of 30. And I guess I took so long purchasing them because, for one, I thought, oh, you know, I don't want to waste 25 bucks because these are probably junk. But on the other hand, you know, it's like, well, it's only $25. Maybe they're all right. You know, I just kind of hemmed and hawed quite a bit. And then I'd asked a friend of mine, Marty Owens from Owens Art, if he had tried these and liked them, and he said he didn't like them. And so that kind of kept me from buying them. But then I saw Angela Fair use some, and so I sent her a message and I asked her, are these the ones that you were using? And she's like, yeah, they're a crazy deal. They're great. So I'm like, well, okay, I have two artists I highly respect, have two varying different opinions on them, so I guess I would order them and see for myself. So I paid right around $25, $26 on Amazon, and I will link that up in the video description. That's an affiliate link, so if you do purchase it, I do earn a little bit of money on that, just to be completely transparent with you. And I did buy these with my own money. They weren't sent to me. So the packaging is nice. They come in a sturdy cardboard box with you know, your colors listed out here. They are 7 milliliter tubes, 7.5 milliliter tubes, and on the tube you may need your reading glasses or magnifying glass for this. You've got your colored number, which is their the Shinhan number, and you've got a light fastness rating, and it appears that their light fastness rating is between 1 and 3 stars, 3 being the most light fast, 1 being the least light fast. So it's I notice that a lot in like Korean or other Eastern paints. They have that rating rather than 1 being the most, like we have at the ASTM here in America. And then on the back it will tell you what pigment or pigments are used in the paint. So all the information is great to have, and I was really impressed that that was on such an inexpensive series of paints. So the first thing I did was I put some out in a palette, and I'm using one of my core tins because I had a bunch of these from the trial sets that I purchased from them, and I put them in this. This is actually a Dr. P.H. Martin palette that I cut down to fit inside of this tin, and I squirted a little bit out and let them dry down so that I would see if they fell out of the palette like, you know, a lot of the cheaper paints do. They didn't, and then I'd have something to work from. I also wrote down the names with a little Sharpie on the plastic outside of them so I'd know exactly what I had. I also swatched them out. I did a kind of wet swatch, and then I let that dry, and I went over it with a thicker swipe just to see glazing and how they look in mass tone versus watered down, because sometimes they can look different. And before I did that, I did a line of like a black, well, it looks almost a dark gray, but it was a black Sharpie, and I let that dry fully before I painted over them just to make sure it didn't repel any of the paint. So I thought the colors were gorgeous and vibrant. Some of them were a little bit more opaque. Obviously the Jean Brilliant, which would be more of like kind of like a light skin flesh kind of color. The white is a PW6, which is a little more opaque than like a Chinese white. This is more of a titanium white, I believe. Black was quite opaque. The yellow, green, and emerald and the sap green were fairly opaque in full strength. And the cerulean was a little strong. I assume there might be some white in there, even though it's not listed in the color. One thing I thought was really interesting that I liked about the set was that for Prussian blue, instead of using the customary PB27, which can be fugitive, they used a PB15:3, which actually gives you a beautiful Prussian look. It's not going to granulate, and it is going to stain a little bit, but it shouldn't change color. So that's good. But I thought there was a really nice variety of colors. Now, some of the pigments, and I've seen this before, like these remind me so much of the Neo watercolors from Kusakabe, which is a Japanese company. They dried down almost the same. The color use was about the same, and they also had some of those weird pigments that you usually don't see in professional watercolors. watercolors. So if you were interested in the Neo watercolors from Kusakabe, but they're expensive and you want something very similar, these would be a very good substitution. But like there's a few colors here, like the PV3 is very fugitive, and that color is also used in this violet here, where it's a mixture of PV3 and PR81. PR81 isn't that great for lightfast either, so that would fade, that would fade. This color here uses your standard true alizarin crimson pigment, which is not lightfast, and it is mixed with a PR63, which is moderately kind of middle of the road. It's that color right there, lightfast, but I wouldn't trust it. But then you've got a nice quinacridone red there that should be good. It's a nice neutral red and it should be pretty light fast for you. Obviously Opera is never light fast in any brand. And then you do have some colors that you don't often see in artist grade, like the PO13. I believe that's the same orange in the Jane Davenport neutral set, the orange there, which is actually moderately light fast. They're giving it a 3-star, but from the research I was doing online, it's more of like out of 1 to 5 it would be a 3. So it's kind of in the middle of the road. But all in all, I was really pleased with these colors, and I'm going to show you a couple paintings that I did with them. I did this on a live stream a couple weeks ago, and well, actually this is the practice one I did beforehand. I thought the colors mixed really well. I did notice more separation, like if I made a gray with the ultramarine blue and the brown, which is a burnt sienna pigment. Some of the colors aren't going to match what you're used to hearing paints called, and I think that's common a lot of times when you have paints that are made in Eastern countries. I don't know why, but they seem to have different names for things. Obviously they speak a different language, so maybe when it gets translated it comes out differently. And I did notice like those colors separated more, like when you mix them up, like if you let them sit on your palette, or you were in a really wet and wet wash, or you used a salt effect, the colors would disperse differently and you'd have more granulation, and you'd see like patches of blue and patches of brown, which I thought was pretty, but it may be more texture than somebody else wants. But I really found the colors to be nice and rich and crisp. I'm a little well, I did use a lot of the this red there, so I don't think my strawberries are going to fade, but you would want to definitely probably avoid that or not use too much of that. If you used it in the shadows, it might fade on you. But this is like, you know, this is like hanging in direct sunlight for, you know, years. It's not going to happen overnight. But still, I feel like I should tell you this because, I mean, I've got paintings, I've got colored pencil artwork, I've got watercolor paintings that have been hanging on my walls for decades. And I live in Maine, so I don't have like really strong sun, and everything has been fine. So, you know, if you lived in, like my sister lives on top of a hill and she has so much sun, and you will see stuff fade big time in her house. Not necessarily artwork, but like, you know, paper or packaging, some things like that. But you know, there's so many different variables, and of course you can do your own lightfast testing. A lot of times these companies don't do their own lightfast testing, they just go by the pigment information they have from their suppliers, so it never hurts to do your own. I don't bother with it. If I'm worried about the light fastness of it, then I just do it and keep it in a sketchbook, keep it in a file folder, or use it for practice. These are very inexpensive paints. I would rate them as a high-end student quality. I wouldn't put them in the professional range just because of the amount of fugitive colors you have here, but like when I did this, I made sure to use colors that I knew were not going to fade, because I knew I was going to spend some time on it, and I didn't want to have to be like, oh shoot, I used Opera, that's going to fade. I can't frame that and hang it up. So I was very careful of the colors I used on this painting to use only colors that I knew weren't going to fade. This one, however, which I'll be doing in a live stream, probably by the time this goes up, the live stream will have happened yesterday. Future Lindsay says this will have happened yesterday. And so I was just playing, and I also played with some brush show in the border here, so I didn't really care if my colors were going to fade or not. So I used Opera, and I just played with color, and I used everything, and I found the colors just worked really well. One thing I noticed though, when I used my heat tool to dry layers, the Bordeaux and the Crimson, did I use Crimson Lake? I didn't use Crimson Lake. The Bordeaux really darkened. Like when I heated it up, it went like almost like a deep grape color until it dried again, until it cooled off again, which is odd. I've had cardstock do that before, and it could be like a specific dye. It's usually like the purple cardstocks. You heat them with a heat tool or use hot glue on them, and then like wherever you put the glue, it's like bleached out to pink, and then once it cools, it goes normal again. So that was kind of interesting. I was glad to see that it came back to its original color after it dried, but I was a little freaked out for a second. But I remember that doing it on the strawberries too, in the shadow when I was heating it. So that's just something to be aware of, and don't freak out when that happens. My bottom line for this set is really, I really think it's a great deal. I think if you want some paint to use, it's not terribly expensive, or you want to get paints for, like, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend these for children just because I don't know about the toxicity. Generally, your artist paints aren't non-toxic. You know, if you use them the way they're supposed to be used, you shouldn't have a problem, but I wouldn't recommend it for children. But definitely if you have teens, middle school aged kids that are really interested in art, I think this would be a wonderful set. If you want a set of paints to play with where maybe you feel like your really expensive artist quality paints are too precious and you're afraid of wasting, or you want to try some experimental techniques and you just can't bear to use your more expensive paints, these are a great option. Or if you just want to dabble in having that artist quality paint experience, you don't really care about the light fastness, then go for it. Some of these paints are perfectly fine, light fastness wise, but as you can see, they're not as transparent as your artist grade. If you were buying like Sennelier or Winsor & Newton or Schmincke or M. Graham or Da Vinci, you're going to have much more transparency. So when you're layering up colors, you're going to see through those layers of colors and have that luminous painting. Here, I mean, you can see that some of these colors, if you were to layer them, it doesn't matter because once you have two layers on, it's completely opaque and you're not going to see through them. Another thing is these do lift very easily, which I think is great for beginners, but might not be that wonderful for more advanced artists, because as you spend more time in watercolor, you start to do more in-depth techniques, and you will probably do a lot more glazing, and glazing is where you lay a color. Like here, I had this one shade of orange or vermilion, and then I laid another color down. So you would build up these colors and have these really interesting luminous effects. But as you're advanced and you're doing like 4 or 5 layers, you don't want to paint where the under layers are going to be reactivated as you're going over them. So, but the benefit for a beginner is that if you make a mistake, you can take a damp brush, you can paint over it, and you can blot it off like I did on all these streaks. Obviously, some of the phthalo colors are going to stain, just like in any other paint. And I would say if I'm going through here, the colors are reasonably light fast. PY1 is not a great color. The PV3, PR83, and then some are just kind of right in the middle there. I would say good light fast, not excellent, not fugitive, but not bad. In a sketchbook, no issue whatsoever. More light fast than markers, obviously. So, you know, if you just want to get started in watercolors, you want a decent brand, you don't want to spend $100, give these a try. There's a set of 12 that is $13, I think. So, and I think most of the colors in that set are the more basic colors, so they're the more light fast ones. So, you know, that would be an option. This is the best value because you get 30 for 25, so it's less than $1 a tube, and you really, I mean, you can't even get Cotman or Grumbacher Academy or Van Gogh for that price, and I do feel like these are better paints than Cotman, Van Gogh, or Grumbacher, or any of those other, you know, student grade paints like Koi or whatnot. So definitely worth the money. Whether it's right for you, whether you would use it, only you would know that. I mean, if you have as much paint as I do, I mean, you can see why I was kind of on the fence to buy these, because I already have a lot of really awesome paint. I already have a lot of student grade paint. I really don't need any more of either, but since there were so many people interested in this, I decided to just bite the bullet and order them, and I'm glad I did. I would put these right in with my other paints and have no qualms about using them. Obviously, the violets I would be picky about. I don't tend to use violet. If I am going to use a violet, it's usually a dioxazine violet. And not a mixture, so I probably wouldn't even use those unless I was doing something kind of whimsical and crafty rather than like a fine art application. And same as opera, it's like I know that's going to bleach right out, so if I was going to use that, it would be definitely something temporary, like maybe I was making signs with the Girl Scouts or something like that. I would use that, or a decoration for a school dance. That's what I would use those colors for. So as long as you're aware of what is in your colors, I think you're fine. And I don't mind mixing these up because I can pick up my tube and I can look on the back and look at the pigment, and if I'm not sure, I can look it up and I can see, oh yeah, that's BV11, that's gonna fade, that's that fluorescent pigment that is going to bleach right out. I have that information on the tubes, and a lot of lower end paints do not put that information on the tubes. Those Kusakabe watercolors also do, and that's why when I saw some of the pigments that I didn't recognize, and then when I looked up I saw they weren't very light fast, I was kind of disappointed disappointed because those paints are really expensive. These are priced right. These are an excellent deal. And just, you know, just knowing the limitations of these paints and what the characteristics are, you can determine whether it's something that you're going to use or not. And they did dry down fine. Oh, that's something I want to show you. I did this painting here. They were from the dry pigments, like just wetting them with water. They reactivated beautifully. I hadn't touched them in 2 weeks, and I did this painting, and they just leapt right out of the pan. They were very easy to re-wet. And this one I did with fresh color. So, I mean, just as vibrant either way. So I know that's an issue with some of your cheaper paints. When you put them in your palette, what happens is like they might crack and fall out. None of these have done that. Even these two colors here that contained PY3, for some reason they were looking a little bit like more matte. The other ones looked a little glossier, but they still didn't want to fall out or anything. Even the white's not flaking out. And sometimes your whites will want to fall out of your palette. So really, I've got nothing but praise for this because of the price. If they were like $100, I'd be like, yeah, no, you can do better for that money. But for $25 to have 30 tubes of really vibrant color that you can play with and experiment with and not feel bad, and they're not too precious, I would say go for it if you need paints to fit that specific need. So like I said, I'm happy with these. I'm going to take them out of the box and put them in my little drawers. I have my paints sorted by color, and they'll just go into my regular rotation. And I'm very happy with them. So I want to thank you so much for watching this review. If you have any questions about this paint, you can leave them in the comments section below. And I try to answer every question that's posted. I don't get to respond to every single comment, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. But I do try to respond to all the questions. So and also there'll be other people that have used this paint too that will chime in and give their opinions as well. So if you have something to share about these paints, also feel free to leave that in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this product review. And until next time, happy crafting.